Greetings and thanks everybody for joining. I am Dr. David D. King. I am your next Lieutenant Governor and the host of Wisconsin Revival Rally. And we got an awesome show for you tonight. I'm excited about it. Got some powerhouses, I call them powerhouses, that's going to join me tonight. We're talking about voter integrity. We're talking about candidacy and the candidate and their integrity. So we're going to have a great time tonight. I got some mighty men and women of God with me tonight, so I'm excited about this. We also have with me tonight, I call her the constitutional rock star. She's with me tonight, and I got two men of valor also with me tonight, and I'm so grateful to have all of them. I'm just a blessed man like that to have all of these lovely people with me tonight. So we're excited, and we welcome you guys to come in and join in with the conversation that we're about to have on voter integrity, and we're also going to be talking about candidacy, the candidates and integrity, how important it is for a candidate to walk in integrity. So we're going to get this party started. And so I'm gonna have them, once I put them on spotlight, they're gonna tell you their name and introduce themselves, even though you guys see their name, but I'd rather for them to tell you themselves. So here we go.
Hi, I'm Sarah Poliquin. I am a homeschool mom of 5. Been married for almost 16 years this summer. And I absolutely love my country, and I love my Constitution because, and really that is what it is. It's my Constitution. It's your Constitution. It is our Constitution. And so I study it and I read it. And I heard from somebody, a few years back, that the Constitution needs to be interpreted by experts and by people who know the law and can know the nuance and everything. The Constitution was written by farmers and lawyers and doctors and everyday businessmen, and they wrote it for the people so that the people would be the ones who could interpret the law, who could interpret what was going on in their government, and who could make the changes that needed to happen if their government decided to get power hungry. So yeah, I love talking about it. I could go on all night, but I will cede the field for a little while.
Well, after that introduction, it's kind of hard to follow. The Constitution is really the document that forms the basis of our country, and so many people have ignored it. My name's Adam Steen. If you don't know, I ran for Congress in 2018 to replace Paul Ryan. I did not win. I was able to teach my daughters that everyone doesn't win. It's amazing what we've learned in our society today, that we teach our kids that everybody gets a participation trophy. But I'm case in point, I didn't make it through the primary. So I'm a dad of 2 girls. I live in Racine County, Wisconsin, down here in the southeastern corner of the district. And for the last 4 or 5 years, my goal in life has been to educate citizens, because we have, just like Sarah said, we have a document that's a constitution. It's a contract between the society, or individuals who form society, and that government, which they formed in order to do the bidding of the contract, which is laid out in front of them. And so it's really been an exciting time over the last couple of years, just explaining to people that don't pay attention that much what the Constitution says, what we should do as citizens to follow that document. So this will be a fun conversation to have. Thanks for having me.
I'm Ryan Mueller, father of 4 kids, married for 22 years. It'll be 23 years this summer. Running for school board in Burlington. Just talking about the Constitution, that's one of the things we need to bring back into our schools. If we don't teach our kids the Constitution and the power it holds, and that it's their God-given rights that are enshrined, and that the government is supposed to protect them, the government doesn't grant them. We need our kids to understand that. So
Wow.
I want to bring that back into the schools as part of what we're doing in the schools, make sure our kids understand the Constitution and the power it gives them and teaches them that they are the owners of the government, not the other way around. So looking forward to this evening as well. It's always good to be on our the show with our next lieutenant governor. So happy to be here tonight.
Well, thank you for that one. Hey, one of the things that the reason I wanted to talk about the Constitution is because of the fact a lot of people don't understand the power that comes with the Constitution. I think a lot of people it's funny because they're training some people to hate the country, hate the Constitution, instead of saying, hey, you need to fall in love with it, apply it to your life. It's just like the Bible. So many people read the Bible, but they don't really understand what's in the Bible to apply it to their lives. And that's why they get miserable and be like, oh, I'm mad at God. What are you mad at God for? Did you apply the word the way he says it?
Right.
And so when we look at the Constitution and we look at the people that are in charge of the government and not the government in charge of the people, right?
Exactly.
So now we come to our first topic, and that's voter integrity. And the reason I want us to start with that one is because a lot of people, not only are they giving up on the Constitution, but they're giving up on our way of electing someone into office because of there's no integrity in the election no more. So I don't care who starts this, we can go ahead and get this party started.
Well, since we're talking about the Constitution, I could go through and I could read Article 2, Section 1, and it tells us exactly how the election process is supposed to play out. And then the 12th Amendment is the one that kind of changed the way they elect the vice president and the president. But other than that, it's straightforward. I mean, we don't have many words in our Constitution. It's little over 4,000 words in our Constitution. The book they're using nowadays is 5,000 pages long. You can actually buy it. It's like $150 or something like that. You go onto the government website. That's the Constitution they're using. It's annotated. It's got all of the Supreme Court precedents and all of the different things that they added into our very, very, very simple document. I won't read the whole thing, but the idea, it sets up exactly how the electors are supposed to be chosen. Guess what? The legislature is supposed to choose our electors, and for each state is supposed to choose our electors. And we handed that over in Wisconsin to the WEC. The WEC is not elected, and they have no business being in our election process. That was not the legislator's job to hand that over. And we're allowing our legislators to not do their job, and we're paying them to not do their job. So just starting there, we could go back to the Constitution and say, hey, you guys aren't honoring our Constitution. This is your job. But yeah, at one point, the president and the vice president were chosen separately. You elected from a group of a few men. You voted on them. The electors chose out of the top 5 men. The person with the most votes got president. The person with the second most votes got vice president. Again, that was changed in the 12th Amendment. You had to vote for each of them separately. But still, the idea is that, one, there wasn't going to be a 2-party system. And 2, you could get a president and a vice president from completely separate parties. The only caveat was that the states could not vote for 2 people from their same state. That was it.
Wow.
I love this. I knew you was going there, so I love this. But the thing that I think one of our biggest problems is, and we do it with both constitutions. We do it with the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Kingdom of God, which is the Word of God, right? And so what we end up doing is we're trying to change the Constitution to go with the time. Instead of leaving it alone and just going, no matter what. we take the Bible and we change the Bible to fit today. No, the word doesn't change.
No.
The Constitution doesn't change just because things in life change.
Yeah.
The Constitution says what it says. It is what it is, and that's it. We don't supposed to try to, we need to fix it so it'll line up with today. No, we line today up with the Constitution, and we'll have a better time to go along. Y'all jump in here.
You just said something that I heard probably a year and a half ago. This wonderful woman was speaking in front of a huge crowd, and she said, "We have this thing in our country today called constitutional law.
Yeah.
This is not a separate agreement between the citizens. It's called a contract. We formed a contract with our government."
Yeah.
And she made the perfect example when you were talking about the church. She said, let's step back, and she was dealing with the administrator of a university. And she said, let's look at your contract. Let's just say hypothetically that the administration went to your contract and said, this is more of a living document that we need to interpret it based on today's standards, and we paid you too much money and we let you work too few hours. We're gonna decrease the money you're getting paid and increase the hours you're working. And that's constitutional law in its finest. And that's what we've done, not only to the Constitution, but exactly to the Bible. It's fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, everything we've allowed to be done to our Constitution has been, as I look at it, with a federal power grab in mind, right? Change how the president, vice president are elected. You take the power away from state legislatures to select senators to give it to a popular vote.
Yep.
I mean, there was a clear delineation for a reason. The House is the people.
Yep.
That's the people's representation. The Senate was supposed to be the state's representation. Now, as I've looked at it over the years, why did they do that? Well, because if you left it to the states to select the senators, the Senate would be a supermajority just about every cycle, because there's way more red legislatures in this country than there are blue. Even with states that are split in their power, right? So at worst you'd end up with those states that are split. You'd end up with one from each party, let's call it, potentially, just so everybody gets along. But everything we've seen happen to the Constitution has just been in line to federalize everything, and even things we haven't seen that should have been constitutional amendments. The Constitution spells out 4 bureaucracies. That's it. How many do we have now with how many millions of government employees? Every bureaucracy we have, by all rights, should have been a constitutional amendment.
Yep. Yep.
You got it.
Yep.
So then let's go back for a second, because Sarah, you said something.
Okay.
We was indoctrinated, and whether we want to understand it, believe it, or accept it or not, we've been indoctrinated that it's a two-party system. We didn't read the Constitution. We got indoctrinated that it's two-party. You hear people say, well, if you run independent, it'll never happen. You can never do it in a two-party system. And then
it's us versus them, right?
Huh?
Us versus them.
Yeah. So when we look at it, right, and we look at it and says, okay, two-party system, then you read the Constitution. Wait a minute. It's not a two-party system.
Yeah.
But we allow them to indoctrinate us and say a two-party system. And so now we got to manipulate you not to vote for a great person if they don't decide to run with a party. Oh, no, they don't have a chance to win because we have this great two-party system. Can you imagine, though? Now, let me watch this. Can you imagine if we had a wow, that would be. Can you imagine if we had an independent vice president and a Democrat or Republican president?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the design. I mean,
you want to, oh, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
well, I was going to say that's the design, and we get so enthralled with the marketing departments of both parties.
Yep.
Right. That's what it is. It's marketing. If you look at the base of what's the purpose of each party, they want to hold on to power.
Yep.
And there really isn't much difference between them, honestly. If anybody's being honest, there's not much difference between a Democrat and a Republican Party. Their aim is the same. They want to remain in power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they might say some things and go about it differently, which gets in probably the discussion later of candidate integrity, right? But
yep.
Their marketing departments are some of the best in the world, where they get us fighting amongst ourselves when honestly, even I made this point before somewhere, I think it was on another friend's show or something, where we probably, if you talk to somebody that's the opposite of you politically, stands on the other side of the spectrum, you'll still agree on 50 to 80% of what's going on. And I've learned that from campaigning on the ground, right? I've talked to everybody, some that agree with me, some that don't. But in the end, there are some commonalities between what we stand for and what our principles are. It's just we go about solving the problem different ways. We want to solve the problem different ways. And that's where those marketing departments come in and get us fighting amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Imagine if we'd had someone that's truly independent and is a thinker for themselves, not beholden to party or their corporate donors. I think every politician should have a jacket like the NASCAR suits with their donors on it.
Yep.
So we know what we're signing up for.
Yep.
And but if you have someone truly independent, that can speak to both sides and not be swayed by it. I mean, to me, that's what the intention was when the founders put the Constitution together. It was, we need to have all sides, all voices represented. It's not a strict two-party system. I mean, probably back in the day, there was still, two major parties, right? But you'd see an odd one in there amongst the presidents or vice presidents every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But you have someone that's got that true independent streak.
Yep.
That's actually going to do what the people want. I mean, that's what it boils down to, is you have to have somebody that's independent. It thinks for themselves, and you have some of that, within certain people within either party that have that thought where they still fear the people, but most of them don't these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I was just going to say, and this probably could be talked about when we get into the specifics of the integrity of the electors and of the people we're voting for. But the Federalist Papers were written by Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and I believe James Madison.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, some of the most amazing writers in all of history in the founding era. And one of the things that they were doing with these Federalist Papers were trying to explain to the people, hey, this is what we meant when we said these things. So if again, we don't need experts in law, we don't need experts in the Constitution to tell us what the Constitution means, because we had three men who wrote it out for us in Technicolor and explained every last aspect that they thought. Now, the problem is I think there was a sort of sense of, oh, this is foolproof, right? We could never imagine our state legislators ever handing power over to an unelected bureaucrat, right? So there was a little bit of that in there, but they stated in the Federalist Papers, and I'm not up on my Greek numbers, so I'm not going to say the number of it. They stated that this office was the most important and trusted office in the entire federal government. And so they were very specific. They did not argue that they needed men of integrity selected from the people, not with any competing interests in the office of presidency. So nobody from the representatives or the Senate or anybody in the federal government had any right to choose this very important man who is going to be helping to head our country, because he has a big job to do. And they specifically stated that this was a man who is going to be discerned as a integrity driven man. And the interesting thing that they said in one of them was, nothing was more to be desired than that every practicable obstacle should be opposed to cabal, intrigue, and corruption. And guess what they said? They said these most deadly adversaries of Republican government might naturally have been expected to make their approaches from more than one quarter, but chiefly from the desire in foreign powers to gain an improper ascendant in our councils. They knew what was coming.
Right.
They knew what was coming. They were so prescient in how they looked to long-term problems that could arise in our government. And they're spelling out for us what is happening, what is taking place in our government right now. And we need more people to read these documents and get into offices and fight back.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like 2 points, as you were saying that, Sarah, that I thought of. One is they knew their history.
Yes.
Right. They knew their history.
Yep.
And two, I got about halfway through the Federalist Papers. I was reading it. I got I take that back, maybe about a quarter of the way through, somewhere in there. And I put it aside because I picked up another book I was reading to kind of prep for as I'm running for school board. But the other thing is it's not, the Federalist Papers are not an easy read.
No.
And we've gotten so far in education away from reading historical documents and being able to read that, call it that old style of writing, if you will, right?
With intelligence.
Right.
Yeah.
That
I got
kids today can't read it.
Hold tight. I got something I want to show you guys. So y'all keep talking while I go get it, because you guys gonna love this, because when y'all started talking, it hit me, and somebody gave me some. So if any one of you guys want what I'm about to show you guys, let me know and I get it to you guys.
Okay.
Right back. Keep
Go
talking.
ahead, Ryan. Yeah, go
All right.
ahead.
If we can't, if our kids don't know how to comprehend that old style, that more intelligent, and the thing about that writing at the day, it was at a 4th grade level, right? It was written in the same manner our Constitution was.
Yeah.
But we've gotten so far away from being able to comprehend and read and process what it's actually saying.
Yeah.
That we lose the message in it, and we don't teach it anymore in schools. And that's part of the other problem, right?
Yeah.
You got to teach so kids know how to comprehend and decipher that type of text.
A 4th grader in the founding era would be able to write out an essay describing the 3 branches. An essay. Right. We have multiple choice questions, and our high school students are graduating without the ability to even read a multiple choice question.
Right.
They can't answer something when it's given. It's like it's what is that that game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You know. You're like, I love reading, or I love going through those, because it seems to me like every year it gets a little bit more dumbed down. Like, we're going to make it easier for you to win this because we don't want to keep having all these failures. It's like, no, we should be challenging people to rise above that. At 8th grade, these people were actually university educated, many of them, and it just blows my mind that our public education system is doing exactly what it was intended to do, and that was to dumb down the population and make a bunch of sheeplings who would follow whoever was the elite in power.
Right.
Well, you guys both made an excellent comment that you kind of glazed over, in that the founders envisioned representatives. They didn't, when you were defining it clearly, that it wasn't for a specific party. It wasn't for their own interest.
Nope.
They were to be a vessel that took the will of the people and brought it to government.
Exactly.
And my mother, I love my mother to death. She explained it to me very simply. When you talk to people, you need to tell them that when the Constitution was written, we were to hire waitresses, bank owners, storekeepers, blacksmiths, cowboys. These were the men and women that were going to serve for a term and then go back to work.
Right.
And when you think about it that way, those are the people that were expected to lead our country, because they had experience. They had lived their lives, and they bring that experience to government to better the government, which is of the people, by the people, and for the people, not for their own interests.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I gotta show y'all something. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Excuse me.
Let me know if you want one of these.
Because
Wow.
ooh,
Let me,
interesting.
Biggest scam in history.
let me know if you want one. It comes with a flash drive.
Excuse me.
And it comes with a flash drive. And like you guys said, the reason I'm eating everything is because if we're going to be a representation of the people,
Yeah.
we have to expose things that has really messed us up. And so the two-party system was only designed for them to have power over the people instead of the people having power over them.
Mhm.
And so somewhere down the line, they indoctrinated us to believe that you only can be successful in politics if you kiss the ring.
Mm-hmm. They talked about this just a few paragraphs later. They said another and no less important, I believe the word is decision, but it's I can't say it. Okay, anyway, it's a very important thing that the executive should be independent for his continuance in office on all but the people themselves.
Wow.
I mean, how much clearer can you get? And look at what we have. We have. I'm blown away by the county or the caucuses that where we come to convention and we're supposed to we're supposed to endorse candidates. And before we even get to convention, our caucuses, our districts have already decided which ones, the popular ones, are going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot wait to get to convention because I will be standing up and saying absolutely not. It is so ridiculous that we have these unelected officials telling us who to vote for. Why should we be the ones endorsing these candidates? Why shouldn't we be saying, okay, these are the candidates. This is the information we have on them. If you want more information, go to their websites, read up on them, decide for yourselves what issues are important to you, and vote your conscience. That was the whole point, is we've made this collective thing instead of having the individual self-governance to do our own homework.
And with that, we're screaming voter integrity, right? And no voter fraud, but you got it in each party during the primary. If you're not connected to the good old boys, we're going to do voter fraud. We're not going to walk in integrity. We're going to pick who we want to represent us, not represent the people, but represent us. And so I try to get people to get the Constitution, read the Constitution, understand what the Constitution. There's a lot of lawyers that never really read the Constitution.
Right.
They call them. There are actually people who call themselves constitutional lawyers. They've never read a constitution in their life. They just took classes on it. So they took the interpretation of whoever was teaching those classes, and they're going, "Oh, I'm certified now. I can tell you what the Constitution says."
That's why I got one of these. Like, I know Hillsdale gives these out, but I got Pocket Constitution. I've got an app on my phone with the Constitution, so I can go back and reference it. And I do reference it quite often. Yeah, there you go.
Well,
this is my biggest one. I've got, I believe, 20 now. So pocket constitutions and smaller versions of it. So
I got the pocket ones. I'm not getting back up to go get it to show y'all I got one. But I got them. I got them all through my house. I got them. My wife got them. We read it. And I tell people, this is why since we're talking about the Constitution, this is why we need people in government who understand the 10th Amendment, and we can tell Joe Biden, kiss our grits. We can tell him, we're not going to bow down to you guys anymore. We're not going to do this anymore. We can tell them, you know what? I can't wait until we go back to the real education and remove this Department of Education out of the way, because, it's not working, right? And
No, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. That
Right.
it's set up to work that way. So yeah, it is successful, but it's not working for the people. That's for sure.
Everything that has been put in place to get us back to an aristocracy. Everything that we go, the more and more power the president grabs is we're going back to that monarchy. And that's all the plan, right? It's you get career politicians that view themselves as the elite. They are the new lords, and we are their vassals, and they're doing all they can to take us back to those medieval times where you had feudal lords and everything like that.
Yeah, and they call it progress.
I heard a really smart guy tell us that at a meeting one time. He said the first thing we have to do is repent of the decisions that we've made as citizens. And that's where we sit today. Is we made a mistake, right? We look at all of us. We have made a mistake, and we have to start on a different path.
Yeah, there was what was I reading? Mere Christianity is an excellent book, and one of the things that he talks about is what we call progress is basically just pure cussed stubbornness, hard-headed behaviors. He says that it's not progress when you're going down the wrong path and you just continue going, hoping that everything will turn out okay. You have to. Progress is sometimes going all the way back to the start of the path and finding the right directions. And we just keep going down the wrong path, and we're like, oh, but we'll just put more money at it. We'll throw money here, and we'll add a new administrative bureaucracy, and and we'll just do all of these things, and it'll make it better. No, it won't.
And you know what's funny? And this is one of the reasons why we got to repent. We let them do some stupid stuff, and we didn't pay no attention.
Right.
For example, we allowed them to get rid of the Government Accountability Board, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they changed it, right, to the WEC, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The people who put the WEC in place, now one of their wives is suing what her husband done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, are we that slow, or we just not paying attention, or we just not speaking out? Your husband set up the WEC.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're suing what your husband set up because y'all wanted us to think y'all did something right by getting rid of the Government Accountability Board.
Yeah.
Which is also people that are not elected.
Yeah.
You know who the Government Accountability Board needs to be us. We are the Government Accountability Board.
Exactly.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, if we ever going to have a fair election, it's we the people that's going to make sure it's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
It's we the people, everybody was saying the machine. No, those drop boxes where they went into those drop boxes and they put thousands on top of thousands of votes in there. You had people say they only had votes for Biden, and no other person had a vote. I mean, come on, it's time for we the people to wake up and take back that power and say, you know what, it's not about me being a Democrat. It's not about me being a Republican. It's about me being American.
Right.
Following the guidelines of the Constitution. That's just like the Bible. It's not about me being a Catholic or Lutheran or Baptist or Methodist or Presbyterian. It's about me applying the Word of God to my life.
Yep.
And but when we allow people to put us in a division mindset, to the fact where I don't like you, why? Because you got a D. That's it? Or you got an R. That's it? Who told you?
Right.
Yeah.
And when we look at it, and I tell them all the time, I say, listen, if you need blood, I guarantee you don't say, don't give me no Republican blood.
Right.
Don't give me no Democrat blood. You need a kidney. I don't want a Democrat kidney. Are you serious?
Yeah.
But when it comes to voting, we allow them to manipulate us.
Yeah.
In a fact where, and now we're going to shift to candidates' integrity, because you got these people out here, and it's not even who the most qualified to help we the people, is who can lie the best, or who can smear somebody's name the best. That's how we're electing folks, and that's how we end up in the condition that we're in, because we have people that are not walking the way they're supposed to be walking. And I'll give you an example, couple of examples. Well, the first one, and I'm gonna talk about my race, all right, because I am your next lieutenant governor, but I'm gonna talk about my race. We have a candidate that says they're the only person that filed the lawsuit against Zuckerberg and the WEC. Well, I decided to really look it up because they wouldn't present no papers. And when I looked it up, it's a group of people that signed a lawsuit, and most of us, we know how those lawsuits go. They need somebody from that district. They needed somebody that lives in the Milwaukee area to sign. They needed somebody that lived in the Madison area to sign. Anywhere where they thought there was cheating, they needed somebody to sign. Yep. So that person didn't actually file the lawsuit. They joined the lawsuit. That's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
So that's deceiving the people, right? To me, it might just be me, but that's deceiving the people when you say you're the only one, and then when you go look it up, you didn't actually file the lawsuit. It was a lawyer who did it pro bono because he needed all of y'all to sign this lawsuit so they can actually go to court, because we feel there was voter fraud in Milwaukee. So we just need somebody from Milwaukee. We need somebody from Madison. We need somebody. So when you lie to people and tell people I'm the only one, right? So then we got this other candidate. I'm talking about my race. I ain't talking about nobody but mine right now. So then we got this other candidate, and they're the mayor of the city. Now, if they understood the Constitution, right? If they understood the Constitution, when Evers said close, he had the authority over the city. He didn't have to close.
The doctrine of the lesser magistrates.
Yeah.
Say it again.
It's the doctrine of the lesser magistrates. You do not have to comply.
You don't have to comply.
Well, and not only that, but the governor has no authority to make law anyway. So none of the things that he mandated ever were made into law.
Right. But you're going around the state and saying, I didn't shut it down, the governor did. No, you are in authority.
Yeah.
That's just like Ryan said, I need you to come babysit my daughters. And the daughters break windows and tear up the house. And I just say, I didn't do it. Your daughter did it. He gonna look at me, but you was in charge.
Yep.
You know? So when we sit here and then you listen to the lies that are being told, and then you saying, if I gotta lie to win an election, then I'm gonna lie while I'm in office.
Yeah.
If
and
I gotta,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it seems like such a small thing. Like, okay, I didn't file the lawsuit myself. I just signed on to it. But I think it's those slippery slope arguments, right? That we like the people like to say, oh, well, that's just a slippery slope argument. It's just, and how many of those slippery slopes have we gone down in the last 5-10 years? A lot of them, right? So I'm thinking it's moved out of the realm of conspiracy theory now, and we can actually talk about it reasonably. But regardless, it's like you said, it's based on integrity. Where do we draw the line, and how far over are we willing to go to get what we want? Because that is exactly the opposite of integrity, right? Like I ran for school board a couple of years ago. I didn't get voted in, but I did get more votes than I thought I was going to get, which was pretty exciting. But one of the conservatives told me, you're not going to get elected if you don't wear your mask. I did not wear a mask the entire COVID outbreak stuff. Didn't wear it once. I'm like, why would I start wearing it now just to pander to people to get onto a school board and then fight against it.
Yep.
What is the point if I walk into that office already having broken my moral code,
Yeah.
broken my integrity, then
Mhm.
what business do I have being in that office? Because I have already caused a lack of trust of my ability to maintain my integrity. How does that work? And
Right.
it was so sad to hear it come from even from a conservative saying, well, we got to go along to get along just long enough so we can actually get into these offices. So then I don't deserve to be there.
That's how we got here.
Yeah,
We've
that's exactly.
gone along to get along. Hey, guilty, right? We've taken our eye off the ball.
Mhm.
Had the attitude. I mean, conservatives, we're busy. We're working. We're raising
Yeah.
families. We're and something had to give, and it was the eye on our government,
Yeah.
right? And we've said, okay, well, it's not affecting me. I don't. Fine. It doesn't affect me. Fine. Do whatever you want. Well, now look where we're at, right? And
Yeah.
Adrian's comment there about every single elected official should have been pushing back. You know why? It goes back to what I was saying before. The two parties are one and the same.
Yep.
They're both governing based on their focus groups instead of
Yep.
the candidate integrity,
Yep.
instead of what their principles are, what they ran for office, what those principles were when they ran for office. And as soon as those focus groups come in and there's a threat to their power and them staying in office,
Yeah.
they're just going to do whatever that focus group tells them they need to do.
Yep.
Instead of doing when in all honesty, is if they would do what the people wanted them to do, not what some focus group, because that focus group is going to be such a small sample of the population.
Mhm.
You'd be a lot better off. I mean,
Yep.
and yeah, not everybody's going to like you, and I think when you run for office, you got to be okay with that. Not
Yeah.
everybody's going to vote for you. That's fine. You only need 51% of the vote,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So do what the people that put you in office do what they put you in office to do.
Yep.
And you said
Yeah,
something
exactly, Adrian.
really important. You said that once those focus groups come in, it takes time to develop that history, that background being in that office.
Right.
And we skip over this. It's this bringing it to light a little bit with the COS drive, but we're not supposed to retire as a politician, right?
Unless it's supposed to be a career.
I ran for office in 2018. I look up the history books. I said 6 years. 3 terms is the length of time. There has to be a term. There has to be an end date on your service, because as all of us can attest, that once you're in that office and you start hearing those focus groups and people start whispering in your ear, well, why don't you just do this? It's not hard to see the depravity of man in plain sight. The heart of man is desperately wicked. Who can know it? It shouldn't be a surprise to those of us with our eyes open. We should see it and accept it for what it is and say, we need to change this. That's where the responsibility comes back to the citizens, not just to put somebody in an office and let them sit there and retire as a politician, instead of a public policy advocate for the citizens.
Right. And isn't that the idea of the founders? I mean, they knew the heart of man, like we said earlier. They knew the natural law. They knew the heart of man so well. They knew they themselves were imperfect and that they would want to keep power. George Washington was the only president who willingly handed over his crown. He said no, and he stepped down. He said that, and I mean, he earned the respect of his greatest enemy, King George III. How integrity driven a man. And now we don't even celebrate him personally anymore. We just celebrate all of the presidents as if all of them were worthy of such an honor. A holiday, a holy day for all of our presidents, really? And it's so sad because we've treated this as if we've forgotten who we are. We, the people, who we are as a nation. We've forgotten that human beings are not basically good. we're not purely evil either, but we're neither angels nor animals. And so we knew that government needed to be instituted, but we also knew that we needed to be able to restrain the government, and that was on both sides of the aisle. Benjamin Franklin said something about being a public servant. I can't remember the full quote, but basically he said, this office that you hold should be the most shameful and the most honoring thing at the same time. They don't treat it as a shame to be a public servant. They treat it as the most elite class of citizen, and we're the experts. We get to tell you from our thrones on high in Washington, D.C., we get to tell all you little minions what you get to do. And you know, I've always been a rebel, so
and you know,
the other thing about that is the within, you know, the drafters and of our Constitution, they weren't all Christians. They weren't all men of the Bible, yet they all understood the depravity of man.
yeah,
They all understood that at our core, if we go unchecked, we will crave and seek absolute power.
yeah.
They understood that.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me, you say that, you know, most, or that some of them weren't Christians. It would amaze you how many of them were. And that's the thing we don't focus on, that we say, oh, well, you know, George Washington was a deist. Every person around him, his family, his friends, his enemies, all stated that basically, if you question George Washington's Christianity, you may as well question his patriotism. Greatest father of our nation, and we're questioning his faith in God. He was a very strong man of God. And even, like you said, even the most unchristian person, like say Benjamin Franklin, he was the one who called for prayer at the convention to discuss what to do for a constitution for our country. They were actually leaving. People were giving up and going, forget it, we're never going to get this right. And Benjamin Franklin's like, wait a minute, we've been here for weeks arguing over this stuff. When we were in the middle of a war, we called on divine providence to come and give us wisdom. Why aren't we doing that? So they stopped everything, and they had a day of fasting and prayer. They had a 2-hour long sermon. And they prayed and they talked. The first thing they did, Continental Congress did after they became an official nation, was print a Bible in English. What was it for? On the cover, it says, for the education of our young people in the public schools.
Right.
Where is that Bible now in the public schools?
And you know, you go back to the beginning, they looked around them and they elected based off of, watch this. You ready for this?
Yep.
Based off of character, based off of reputation. And where did they get that from? They got it out of the Bible. It told them to look around among you for men that was going to be deacons, and the qualification, they had to be of good report. Right? There was a guideline on who was supposed to serve. And it was never really designed to put someone there who had a reputation of lying and being deceptive. Right? It was always and we knew we was getting ready to go into this part about power when in 1920, when they started moving God out of the way and putting taxation without representation. So we automatically knew that it was going to be a power struggle. And it's been like that ever since, where it's like right now, there's no God in anything dealing with the primaries or anything. You might, the Republicans, we might say a prayer to open up caucus or Lincoln Day dinner or something like that. But then we move God out of the way so we can play dirty politics, so we can get back in charge, instead of saying, you know what, we're going to leave God right here and we're going to govern the way God wants us to govern. And he did not meant for this to be a career. I was supposed to come in, do my part and leave, and let the next person come in, do their part and leave. But now we got people that have been there so long that when they do leave, their body print gonna be in the chair because they've been there so long.
Yep. And here's something that might blow people's minds. I don't know. Who knows? So we all know about there not being religious tests, right? For holding public office.
Right.
Was that about Christianity?
No.
No. So the religious tests had to do with the whole separation of church and state. The state could not decide denominational, doctrinal superiority. So
look at history.
Many of the states had Christians in office because those were the men they wanted running their states. It was a religious test in our definition, but back then religion to them meant denominations and the separations of the different churches. It didn't mean you couldn't say, no, you need to be a strong born again believer to hold this office.
Think about what they came from. This is history. We all said this 20, 40 minutes ago. We've lost our history. They knew because they were taught by their grandparents, taught the parents, and they taught the kids on purpose. They brought this history through so that they understood what they came from and why this country was founded.
Yep.
We can talk about that a lot, but that'll be another topic sometime.
Yeah, I know. I should recommend the movie Monumental because it explains exactly that. There is a hidden monument in our eastern state that shows every aspect of what was being created in this nation. It was a God-fearing nation right from the start. That was the intention.
And that's a good movie. And that, throw in there too on the separation of church and state. I mean, it's been bastardized to mean we get God out of the schools when in reality, the separation of church and state means that the church doesn't run the state and the state has no power to dictate, religious denomination. That's the separation of church and state. It doesn't mean get God out of the way. It means we're not going to have like when the Catholic Church ruled Europe, that we're not going to have that.
We're not going to have Protestants and the Catholics, and
right. We're not going to have where the King of England is God and dictates what the religion is for the people. That's what the separation is. It's not that we take God completely out of our government.
Yeah.
Well, and like you guys say, we didn't know history, and a lot of pastors didn't know history because where they really took pastors out of politics, I believe it was 1954 and 1957 when they became 501c3. But it was already law says the church did not need to be 501c3.
Right.
Yeah.
But since you jumped into 501c3, here's the rules and regulations. You can't talk politics.
Yep. Yeah, no, by virtue of the First Amendment, the churches were already constitutionally protected as tax exempt. So there should have been no reason for the government to come in. But again, we lost our history, we lost our way, and we educated the truth out of the public schools, and that's where we're at today. We're sitting. We don't even own our own property anymore. We don't have property rights because we're paying the government to sit on our own land. We're telling the government, I'll pay my property taxes, and if I stop paying them, you guys get to take it away from me.
I mean, if you look at the government and all that they've done, not only property tax, but they take our children and make them property that they set up child support. But when they set up the child support, they put interest on your kid like it's a loan. And you sit there like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So when we look at how government done really overreached and really started doing things that they should not have done, and they take the power away from the parents, and they indoctrinate our kids to not only hate the country or hate God, but don't even know the history. They don't know nothing about history. You got some that teaches only to the beginning of the Constitution. They don't go before the Constitution. They don't know all that great history before the Constitution.
Right.
So how do you get started if you don't teach that, but then you teach the Constitution, but then you will teach slavery, and then you got the Republican Party. The only thing they stuck on is we freed the slave. Can you go any further?
Yeah.
Can you come with anything else? I'm sick of hearing about the slaves.
We freed the slaves, but we enslaved your children in our government.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we look at this thing, this is why we got to have men of valor, women of and men of honesty and integrity. We have to have that back in it, and who understand the Constitution. So we have to have them in office so that we can fix things. We're not going to fix it because we put somebody in there and they don't know the Constitution.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
And this is also something that, as conservatives, we are very short-sighted, if you will.
Yeah.
If you look at the opposition to, I'm going to call it good versus evil. When you look at the evil side of the political spectrum, they have a long-term vision.
Yeah.
If you look at the Communist Party of America in 1949, that the vision that they laid out is coming to fruition because they can see the whole game.
Yep.
And as conservatives, everybody you talk to, every single person I've talked to when I ran as a public official, and I've been educating people since, they want change now.
Yep.
Yes.
And we all do. We're all impatient. We're all Twitter, 140 some characters, right? We want everything instantaneous.
Yeah.
But we have to step back, and it comes back to education, to step back and see the entire field and say, we are going to make a decision, right? We've repented.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving forward. And this is the path. To paint that vision is critical in the country today, and not institute flashpoints.
Yeah.
We need to have the conversations to educate people, not to tell them they're stupid, but to say, you have a lack of knowledge, let me help you, and then I can bring you along into this path of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds hokey because conservatives don't talk this way. They want change now.
Yeah.
And we have to have that patience to know that this is the plan that we're implementing to make these steps towards change.
Yeah, because I mean, you think about it. What has our nation done for the last 100 years or so? We just keep swinging from extreme to extreme, right? It's like we cannot settle on one side or the other where we are at even. And the idea has always been, because of the Constitution, because of the guards that were put in place, because of the godly biblical foundation we started with, what is a Christian supposed to do? We're not supposed to go like extreme off one end and then extreme off the other end. That's not how it works. We course correct like a pendulum, not like a pendulum swing, but like when a plumb line, right? When God measures, he measures with a plumb line. It makes small corrections in order to straighten a wall. And what are we doing? We're operating with no rhyme or reason. It's chaos, and it's basically on the whim of whichever side has the seat of power, instead of small manageable steps. I mean, it's why we have all of these massive bills that nobody knows how to read, and they have to vote on it that night, right? They haven't even gotten to look at the front page, and they're already making a vote on something that's going to completely mess with our lives for the next however many decades. And so this is why we need to do small, manageable things. Yes, I would love to overnight just raise all of the fourth branch of government to the ground. It would be wonderful to see that gone. But then there would be a vacuum to fill its place. So how do we work from the ground up in our local communities, build those coalitions, build those walls, like we were talking on this weekend about Nehemiah? Everyone took care of their own section of the wall, right? Little bits and pieces here and there. We cannot just keep going on whim and wildly swinging, because we are destroying our nation. We need small steps, manageable steps.
Well, and that's because we keep putting people in, and I say this all the time, we keep putting people in office that have sight versus people that have vision.
Yep.
And people that have sight see what now. But people that have vision see what can be. And they know what can be, and they know how And if they know what it can be, they also know what it takes to get there, right?
Yep.
So you're not gonna go online and say, if you vote for me, I'm gonna do this in a year. This is why people are frustrated now, because they was lied to. If you do this, I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna do this, and you're sitting there like, okay, why are we still dealing with a big deficit? Why are we still dealing with? Because they never had a plan. For example, you heard them say over and over and over and over and over again, we're going to get rid of Obamacare, right? We're going to get rid of it. But they never had nothing in plan to put it in place.
Yeah.
So if they moved it, what was going to go there? And they never had that in place. So when you look at it right now, you got both sides saying, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And you saying like, okay, now it goes to which one can sucker me the most, you know? And you get to eat okay. Oh, that's Ed Delgado. Okay, he said we got to stop depending on others. We definitely do.
That's exactly it. We've been tricked into thinking that the solutions to our problems are going to come from Madison or Washington, D.C. or insert state capital here, and they're not. You want to know who's going to lead us out of this? Is go walk over to a mirror.
Yeah,
that's who's going to lead us out of this. That's who's going to help us take, the power that is guaranteed to us in the Constitution back. That our government's supposed to protect for us, but they have done nothing but try and rip it to shreds and have in many cases.
Yes.
Yeah. And then when we look at it, right, you got these people and we get these emails and we get the letters saying, oh my God, and they try to scare you with the letters. Oh, the other side is going to do this, so give us your money so we can. No, it's time out for that, right?
Yep.
And it's time out for us. Now, I want us to have passion because passion produces purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to have that. But I don't want us to operate in emotions because in emotions, we get tricked, we get bogged down. For example, I'll speak because we're talking about candidates' integrity and everything. So I'm going to speak on my race again, all right? So we have this person who took 2 years running around the state talking about the Lord led him to run for governor, right? 2 years. Right. And then all of a sudden competition hits and all of a sudden I'm going to run for lieutenant governor. And it's a selfless act. Three of us ran for all four of us on this screen done ran for office before. We know to run for office is a selfless act, because you're sacrificing so much
right
on that, on whatever it is. If it's, I don't care what office you run for, it's a sacrifice.
Yes.
Because you're away from your family, you got to go spend time with people, and then you get to somebody's house who ain't had a conversation with nobody in a long time, and they keep you there for a long time.
Yep.
But you sitting there, and you gotta deal with it. And for my sake, you gotta drive 4 hours to speak 3 minutes. And then you got to drive 4 hours back. So you're on the road for 8 hours to speak a 3 minute, hi, vote for me, and so that's a selfless act. So, so when we start to do these manipulations, we're doing this for the betterment of the people. I don't want to divide the patriot votes in the governor race, but it's okay to divide it in the lieutenant governor's race. I mean, come on, we gotta move our emotions. This is why we're in the mess we're in, because ain't nobody taking time to say, wait a minute, is that really in the Constitution? Is that you mean to tell me this mayor could have not listened to Evers and kept the city open?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the only thing he said he kept open was the parks. Come on now. I mean, are we listening to these people?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's educating the public. You're exactly right. You can't have a conversation with someone who doesn't have the knowledge. Your passion is perfect because you can say things out loud to someone and they're not receptive, right? Their hearts are blinded. The truth is not in them. But you have to be able to speak that truth into their lives because they've been listening to the same rhetoric for the last how many years? We can talk about the media, we can talk about government, politicians, we can talk about all of it. but they've been putting that into their mind without that filter. And
Right.
that filter that I know that I have in my life is the Bible. I look at life through that word of God that I can filter truth out. And that is
Right.
so many people are devoid of that. So you're right. You have to educate them before they can take that information in and make a decision based on it.
Well,
Now,
yeah,
I got to
it
go
brings-
back to one thing that Adrian said earlier.
Okay.
That right there.
Yep.
Yep.
And the reason I'm going there is because of this. Again, we're talking about integrity, and we got two people in my race that are elected officials that did none of this.
Yes.
But then they're saying vote for them for lieutenant governor. They didn't stand up for us. They didn't push back against it. And then they played that little game. Well, we're gonna write this bill, knowing it's gonna get vetoed. You already know it. I mean, we know the game. See, I guess we know it because we all studied up on it and everything. But the average mom don't know the game. The average mom, for example, one of my opponents says, remember when he was running for governor, he said that Voss killed his bill, but he didn't have a bill name, a bill number, or nothing. He had nobody, no state representative or state senator to sponsor that bill that he claimed that got killed. And people was like, oh my God, what's the bill name? What's the number? Who sponsored it? Because I can sit at home and write a bill, but I still got to go find a representative or a state senator to sponsor that bill.
Yeah.
But I can write it. I just got to get them to sponsor it. But if you ain't got nobody to sponsor it, how can somebody kill something that it never made it there?
Yeah.
But nobody really understand how it works. They taught us that, and when we was watching Saturday cartoons. Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. It told you how it operates. It told you how it works in the cartoon, right?
Yep.
And so, I mean, and we don't pay this no attention.
Well, then
I don't know who this Brad person is. I'm gonna put up both his comments though. The first one, he said, the Bible is the one and only truth. We agree with that.
Yeah.
But then he said this, which I don't agree with. Now, he just said the Bible is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's going to say, vote for somebody who's been lying for the last 2 years.
Oh, man.
Brad, I don't know if you messing with us or whatever, but it's funny. But I mean, come on. We was taught that as a kid. You write it. It got to be sent. It got to go before it goes before the House. They got to vote on it.
Yeah.
Bam. But you sitting there, and the thing that we mess up is we vote for these people. Fake news. Oh, okay. But I don't know what fake news mean on that one. I think he's just having fun with us. But but the thing that I don't understand and I don't get is this, right? We have to slow down. Because we talked about it all night. Repent, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna repent, what are we repenting? We gotta be honest and talk about what are we repenting. Lord, forgive us for not voting with our heart, and we voted with our emotion. What I mean by heart, we didn't take time to think. We didn't take time to really research. We didn't take time to make sure that this person was a person of character. We didn't take time to realize this person was not going to fold on us. We didn't take time to realize that this person understood the Constitution because we've been voting people in who was ignorant to the Constitution.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is the perfect thing to talk about. So what do we repent of? Well, it says it right in the beginning of the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish the Constitution for the United States of America. We have failed at every single one of those points. We, the people. That was our job.
Wow.
So we need to repent of all of that.
You didn't have to slap us like that.
No, that was too big.
I mean, I think I'm preaching to the choir to at least you guys.
But
Yeah.
no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
This was the task that was given to us and our posterity, and I mean, the founder
One
said
job,
one job,
and we
and
failed.
it.
Had one thing to do.
Small paragraph.
Well, and it's interesting. The other thing is, I posted this out on one of my other social medias the other day. Is there's experts, and then there's experts.
Yeah.
The experts are what we vote for. They're what we put into these bureaucracies. They don't admit when they're wrong. They don't listen. They don't answer to the people. And as a result, they don't increase their knowledge. Whereas an expert considers the other side. They listen to the people.
Yeah.
They expand their knowledge and continue to grow because they realize that they don't know everything.
Right.
And it goes perfectly with that. Is we've been swindled into believing experts.
Yeah.
Like we said, we have one job and we failed at it.
Isn't it interesting that we call these people experts and they're the least teachable people in the world? How is it that I mean,
And
how
they seem
are
to
we
know the
defining
least.
expert then?
But wait a minute. I thought an expert was anybody that have spent more than 10,000 hours was considered an expert.
Yeah. So
But they haven't spent.
no.
I spent 10,000. I spent over 10,000 hours fighting for freedom. I've been doing it since what 2000 and I don't know. But I spent over 10,000 hours. So if I spent over 10,000 hours, does that make me an expert in fighting for freedom?
So you continue to learn.
Yeah, and that's
the key.
Yeah.
If you continue to learn, then you're an expert. If you think you get to a point because you've been raised for some high office or whatever, and you figure, okay, I know it all. These plebeians need to start listening to me now because I am the expert. What Fauci say? I am science, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I am the science.
Is this Ed?
But not only that, how is they expert when they went to the same school we went to?
Right.
How are they
I gotta put this up there.
if they don't read
I was going to say, is that Ed? I was going to touch on that.
That's Ed.
I think we did. I think to a certain degree, there's a lot of truth in that. Because I think we were talking about that before, right? We've taken it for granted. We weren't being bothered. We took our eye off the ball.
Yeah.
Right. And I said this. I think last night. I said voter fraud been going on for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We didn't say anything until it hit us when we had a great president. Now we got a problem with voter fraud.
Yeah.
But voter fraud was going on for the longest. They've been hitting us with voter fraud, and they've been just testing to see how much they can get away with it. And now you got the drop box, and according to the research and the investigation, both sides are involved with the drop box.
Yeah.
It ain't one side. And see, this is the problem. When you start doing homework, when you really start, your eyes open up and be like, oh, both sides did this.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, let me put this up. Ed said.
See, I only see it says Facebook user, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't see who said it.
Hi, Ed.
I got a million things to comment on.
Yeah.
Oh, we already know, Ed. We already know. But but that's it though, you guys. We let it go on, and they say, "Let me see what we can get away with," and let me see what we can get away with, and let's see. And then they went and say, "Listen, we're gonna make a deal with you."
Yep.
We will not touch your areas or the area y'all want, just long as y'all don't touch us.
Yep.
But what they didn't realize, they were saying, "But we want the presidency."
Mm-hmm.
So we gonna touch that one. And then our side is saying, "Oh my God, I didn't know they was gonna do that." Or our side says, "I don't mind you taking the presidency because we didn't like him no way because he's not one of us." I mean, there's a lot of things that we can look at because a lot of folks. Let's see. Ed again. I bet it's Ed. Yep, it's Ed.
Is Ed?
It's Ed.
Oh, that's fun.
But we have to really slow down and just look at everything and say, wow, what is this? Is it exposing now because they done got what they want? So they exposing. Look what happened with Black Lives Matter.
Yep.
They did all of that Black Lives Matter. They brought people in from out of state to every state. They put bricks in the Black community, right? And they was helping them. The people that was setting stuff on fire wasn't even from the neighborhood, wasn't even from the city that was doing the fires. They was getting paid to come set the fires, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden them all jumped on the bandwagon and everything. Soon as he become president, an Asian woman got murdered. That was sad that they got murdered. And the first thing he do, he make a law to protect transgenders and Asians and left blacks out of it.
Yeah.
And then one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter made millions and moved into a white gated community. But Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
With
At
like
least
4
that one
houses,
did, right?
$4 million houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're not slowing down to pay attention to quit moving on our emotions,
Yeah.
we'll be finding out, man, they playing us.
Well, and we really need to stop softballing these questions for these candidates because, I mean, think about it. They get it from everybody. If they're the popular candidate, then they get all of the fun questions like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Like, we need to stop asking those stupid questions. I really don't care what your favorite ice cream flavor is. I want to know, what is your character? What are you going to do once you step into that office?
I did 3 forums. I wish someone would ask me what my favorite ice cream forum or my favorite ice cream flavor was.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's handy.
But it's not even just asking the right questions. It's pushing to get them to answer the right questions,
right?
Because you get so much doublespeak from both sides, right? They will hedge their bets so that they make sure they don't say anything that offends anybody. It's what is the truth of God's word? It is offensive to people who hate God. So if I am standing up for freedom and for liberty, then I want to be offensive to the people who hate freedom and liberty.
Right.
I want to be offensive to the people who do not believe in the sanctity of life, because those are the people I don't want making decisions for my country.
Well, I will tell y'all this. Sarah does not pull back. When I first met her, she came with an uppercut. We want to know. She would not let you. She wants to know. She want to know. She want to know now. It ain't no. Let me get back to you with an answer. I want you to answer it right now. Where you stand, and if you think her questions is hard, oh no. Her other half, that man be hitting you with some questions, and this is why I always tell people, I might not tell you what you want to hear, but I'm gonna tell you what you need to hear, right? And the thing about it is, I'm not gonna water down and do the cute questions, and I was at an event, and one of the governor candidates was there, and they was asking questions, and they was asking the cute questions, and all of a sudden I said, I got a question. And they were like, okay, he's a candidate. He's going to ask a cute question. And I said, what do you feel about what Robin Voss did? In front of all those people, I asked that question.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, I'm running for governor. That's the legislators. No. How do you feel? What do you think about it? We got to be able to call our side wrong when we wrong just as bad and loud, if not louder than the other side.
Yeah.
Right.
It's called holding them accountable, right?
Right.
Accountability.
Oh, but
we ask those questions for a reason. It's not. So many people think that you're trying to. Oh boy, there was a TV show, Stump the. Anyway, you're trying to make them think and make them engage with the conversation. You're not trying to make them look bad, because they need to be willing to answer the questions so that you know their character, right?
Yep.
That it proves their character by their willingness to engage in the conversation, because that's words. Talk is cheap, right? Is that we say that's the easiest form of conversation, where
Right.
their actions are going to speak louder than their words. But if they won't even engage in the conversation,
Right.
where are we?
Right.
You know, it's funny you say that, because before I got married to my wife, I had to go in front of her spiritual father and get drilled, right? and so he asked me a question. He said, "How do you handle pressure? How do you handle being pressured or anger or anything?" Right? And I answered the question, "Oh, I'm good. I'm okay with it. I'm good." Right? So he moved from that question and started asking me other questions. And in the process of asking me those questions, I went to answer it, and he said, "Be quiet. I'll rank you." And he wanted to see my demeanor. He wanted to see how I handle it. And I passed with flying colors. Why? Because I was a man in authority, but I was always a man under authority.
Yeah.
And so I knew how to handle authority. He outranked me, so I got quiet. You know, my wife turned her head like, "Oh Lord." But I was able to, and that's how we have to do candidates. We have to get them in a tough spot to see how they handle heat. If they don't, if they can't handle it, then why should we put you there?
Right. Because I mean, the whole idea of being in office is handling the heat that is placed on them to make those types of decisions for their entire district or their entire community or whatever. They're the representative. So if they cannot handle that pressure, and they prevaricate, they hedge around the questions. They're like, "Well, let me get back to you. What are we gonna do when we?" Well, actually, we did just see that, didn't we, with COVID? They did exactly what they didn't say said they were going to do. Is we're just going to stand back and let this happen.
And we're not going to do anything. And we got a huddle now, because it's time to call an audible. Here's the audible. We're running for office. We all going to start passing papers, and then we're going to push these papers to Evers, which we already know he's going to veto. So now you got evidence that we had these great ideas and for the people, and they're going to get vetoed, and then we can use this on the campaign trail, because ain't nobody going to ask us no hard questions. And then they say, do not talk about CRT. Do not talk about the mask mandate. Do not talk about medical freedom. Do not talk about none of that. Keep with the game plan. The game plan is taxes, lowering taxes, right? Lowering taxes, wasteful spending, talk about money, talk about how much we was trying to save, and Evers wouldn't go along with it. Talk about, because this is what they want to hear. And they are so far away from the people that they don't really know what the people want to hear. So when the people start hitting them with questions, they won't answer. For example, one of my opponents who ran for governor, I ain't calling no names, but he ran for governor. And then when he switched races, somebody asked him, "Why did you switch?" He would never answer that question. Then somebody say, "Well, I'm going to still support you." And he'll say thank you to them. So I'm sitting there like, and then somebody said, "Well, you didn't want to split the votes in the governor's race. Why are you splitting the votes in the lieutenant governor's race?" He won't answer the question. Then somebody else say, "My house still going to vote for you." And he say, "Thank you." No, answer the real questions and quit just going along with somebody that say they're going to support you. If you can't answer these questions in the primary, why would we trust you?
Yeah.
When the Democrat machine come after you.
Yeah. Yep.
I know we always got something for Ed, right? So let's see what Ed say now.
That's a good one.
Yep.
That's that's very fair point. But at the same time, some of these bills, why weren't they passed when we controlled all branches of government for 8 years?
Yeah, exactly. What did apparently our nobody was asking for that then, I guess.
No.
we didn't want freedom or the sanctity of life preserved. That's a new thing, and we can't do it under a democratic government.
Focus groups.
Oh. I'm sorry. Statistics I hated it in college, and this is why, because we are assigning a number to every human citizen in the United States, and we're using their data. We're using our polls and our numbers and all of these things to drive the narrative. And what does data have to do with integrity of the people running?
That nothing, but
Nothing.
But you have to understand how they utilize the statistics. You notice they always use percentages. They never put the raw data up there behind it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we just
because
saw that
then you'd see how little of a
sample size.
Sample size they had to they reached that agreement or that conclusion with.
Yeah.
I mean, if 3 out of 5 and 3,000 out of 5,000 are both 60%.
Right.
One's a much bigger order of magnitude than the other. But they don't want to say that. They'll just throw out, 60% of people, and they surveyed like 10 people.
Right.
And the sad part about that is, I remember in Madison, they said it was a spike in COVID in Madison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like, what was it, about like 25% spike.
Mm-hmm.
And all they had was the numbers from the ones who tested positive. They didn't have the numbers in there from the ones that tested negative. So when you put the ones that tested negative, it went to 0.0001.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start to look at it and says, okay, give us everything. Let us make this conscious decision for our family by giving us everything. Yeah. Don't just give us something that you want us to have. For example, the man who created, or the company that's making the N95s, right? The N95 mask. What did they do? They sent the link out to the public media and says, oh, the cloth mask is not working. You need an N95. So what lobbyists got paid to go push the N95? Because that's
follow the money.
That's what it is. All of a sudden they printed up all these N95 masks and nobody buying them now.
Yep.
So now what we got to do is tell you the cloth mask is not working. You need an N95.
Yeah. Yep. I saw a meme the other day that said, I keep trying to follow the science, but it just keeps leading me back to the money.
And that's where integrity comes in. Mm-hmm. Let the people make the decision for themselves. Put everything out there. For example, people make decisions to smoke cigarettes, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Even though on the side of the cigarettes, right, it tells you what?
You're going to get lung cancer.
You can catch cancer. Okay, so they put it on there, so people make that decision. Do I want to risk getting cancer or not? I'm a smoker. Everything has, even alcohol, it tells you about your liver, right? So you can mess up your liver. But you know this, so you get to choose. Everything else besides the corona stuff, we don't get to choose. They just force stuff on it.
Right.
There's not even a warning. What do you say? N95.
Yeah, they have to be fitted properly.
Yeah.
It's actually technically a respirator.
Yep, exactly.
Vote to win no matter what, or vote for integrity and
I wonder if Abraham Lincoln would have kept running if that was his motto: vote to win no matter what. Because the first time he lost, then he would have just said, "Okay, never mind."
I'm done.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many offices did he not get into before he hit president of the United States?
Okay, I take that back. The last one, this one was Ed.
Yep.
The other one name didn't come up. And this is Brock right here from Freedom Fighters of Central Wisconsin.
Okay.
Hi, Brock.
Hi, Brock.
Hey, Brock.
So that's who that was. So I got to keep him straight because Ed loved to throw, and then sometimes Ed would go get his popcorn, and then he'd go in. So but you guys, we really gotta educate people on the Constitution. Pass out the Constitution. Tell them to read it. Maybe if we get it on a DVD, maybe they'll just go and watch the DVD.
Hillsdale has an excellent class.
Yes, they have 101 and 201, and then there's Constitution Alive, which I took a class.
Yep.
It was in the fall that we actually used both. We used Constitution Alive, and then we did in class, and then we did the Hillsdale as like an out of class, the Hillsdale 101. And I started running for office, so I didn't get to do 201 yet, but I will once I'm done here, once I win this thing. So
101 we did in a day was.
Let me know if you want one of these.
Yeah, I do.
It comes with the flash drive.
Yeah, I do. Definitely.
Okay, I got y'all one. One.
A third Constitution course that's really good is the Institute on the Constitution. It's through, I believe, the AmericanView.com or .org. I can't remember, but it's another biblically based one. It's very well done. They've also got, and they're free classes. You sign up for a free membership and you can take all of their courses online. They've got one on the role of the sheriff, the duty of the constitutional duty of the sheriff. They've got the jury, what their responsibilities are. They're working, our project right now is we're working on getting Constitution classes for the state constitutions as well, getting those curriculum written. So I'm kind of the point person for Wisconsin. It's slow going because we've got to raise the money, we've got to build the curriculum, we've got to do it all together. But that's another excellent resource, and we just got to keep pointing people to these places because
Okay, I got to put Ed up, you guys. Ed, this is Ed again, y'all. That's Ed. I had to put his up, and then I'm gonna put Brock's up. This is Brock again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, because we're gonna continue to be rats spinning on the wheel until we get our butts moving and get enough people who have the integrity and who have the knowledge that we need to be a well-informed and virtuous citizenry again. And it only takes 1/3 of the citizenry. That's the thing. We don't have to have the majority of the nation. We just have to have a very powerful and very strong minority who know what we're doing, and we get the people in office who understand that and fight for it.
So what you're saying, all we need is the 3%ers, right?
Yeah.
Or
33%.
33%.
Okay, 33%, 3% of 33. But that's all we need, though.
Yeah. And the benefit that the rest of the population doesn't understand is we are fighting for everyone's liberty.
Yes.
It is not simply the liberty of a few.
Exactly.
I was at a meeting in Madison today about a different educational opportunity, educational micropods. And we're not trying to limit anyone's freedom. We are trying to expand freedom for every citizen to be able to choose whatever they want. That's the beauty of the Constitution. Like you need 1/3 of the population to get back what our country was founded upon. Right. That's the crazy part. That's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for you to have the liberty to tell me you don't want to hear it. That's fine. Yeah. But without that freedom, you don't have the opportunity to even have the conversation.
Yeah.
I remember we was out on the streets and we was protesting, rally, whatever you want to call it. One side say protest, one side say rally. And people was riding past and they were sticking up their fingers and everything. And I said, why y'all getting mad? You out here so they can stick up their finger.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're fighting for freedom,
you got it.
You're fighting for people to stick up their finger at you. You crazy. I mean, this is what you're fighting for. Because you're not fighting for one group of people to get it. And that's just like going into office. You're not going into office to be a representative of just the Republican people. You're going to represent all people of the state of Wisconsin.
Yep.
And to be a servant to all the people, whether they voted for you or not voted for you. They supposed to be able to benefit off of your moral decisions, your character, your integrity. Everybody's supposed to be able to benefit. You don't get a group of people and say, "Oh, you're the only one's going to benefit because you're a Republican." No, it's for we the people. We are there to represent the people, whether they voted for us or not, and they are going to be able to be blessed off of the decision we make while we in office. That is why the Bible says God reigned on the just and the unjust.
Yep. And here's something else that we need to start asking these candidates. 3 things. We need to ask them, 1, do you believe in the right to life? And then we have to ask them, when does life begin? And who has authority over life and death? Right? And then we need to ask, do you believe in liberty? Okay. Do you believe in liberty for all or just a select few? And do you believe that a person has that the order of governance is self-governance first, responsibility to God above that, and then man-made governments under that, right? That's liberty. And with, obviously it comes with restraints, but what are those restraints and who gets to restrain us, right? So those types of things. And then the pursuit of happiness, the right of conscience. That's really what they were getting at, was because you can't define happiness for a collective, right? When they talk about the general welfare, we're not talking about, making people happy. We're talking about what is the best way that we can allow people to self-govern and be as hands-off as possible while protecting our God-given rights. And so all of these are the things we need to be asking these people. And the first one, like I said, is the right to life. What does that look like? How do you define it? And who has the power over it? If they cannot give me a straight answer for that, you have no right being in office, because I don't want anybody who prevaricates on the sanctity of my life, of anybody's life, to be running things in government.
And for me, I tell people this: life begins the moment the sperm hit the egg. That's when life begins.
Yep.
It's the moment that sperm hit the egg. I was telling my granddaughter, I asked her, when was you born? And she gave me her birthday, and I started laughing. And I said to her, when was you born? She said, Papa, the day I came out. This is my birthday. That's the day I was born. I said, that ain't when you was born. She said, yeah, it is, Papa. I said, you want to bet? She was like, yeah, I bet you, because she thinking she finna win. I know my birthday. I said, no, baby. I said, you don't know the day you was born, because you don't know the exact date that sperm hit that egg. That's when you was born. You just came out on this day for your birthday, but you was born then. You was alive then, and then when she thought about it, she was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then she went and bet her brother, I bet you can tell me when you born.
That's awesome.
Because and if we look at it, that's when life starts.
Right.
That's when it starts. And so
it does.
I met this young lady yesterday, and she told me, she says, God has a very funny sense of humor. And I said, really? She said, yeah. She said, my sister was born on April 1st, April Fool's Day. I said, okay. She said, but the doctor told us all before she was born, she was going to be a boy.
Yeah.
So we went and got all this boy stuff.
Oh, man.
So we went and got all this boy stuff. And then all of a sudden, when she came out a girl. And we had to run to the stores and try to get girl stuff. And I said, and that's when she said, and guess when her birthday? I said, when? She said, April 1st. I said, quit playing. She said, I'm not playing.
That's funny.
This is why we didn't find out with either girl. We were surprised both times in the hospital.
Oh, wait, let's do Ed, and then we're gonna do see, if we tell Ed to come on, you guys. If we tell Ed to come on, you guys.
Nice job.
My favorite animal.
This is Brock right here.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brock.
So what we're gonna do is, I thought we was gonna do an hour. We always go over no matter what we decide to do. Adam already had texted me earlier. We're only gonna do 30 minutes, and it's already past the 30 minutes. But I want you guys, once I put you on, your final remarks on talking to somebody that might not have. Here's the scenario. They might not have read the Constitution. And I want you all, once I put you on the screen, to give some encouraging words about the Constitution in your own way.
Wow.
Y'all think y'all can do that? All right.
They've never read the Constitution.
Never read it.
No, well, I'm not. You might as well say they never read it. They might have looked over it in school, but.
Wow.
They gave him the Bill of Rights speech in school, and that was it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So technically, they really never read the Constitution.
No.
And I want you to give them some words of encouragement. So when I put your face up there, that means you're going first, and you give them your spiel.
Oh, figures it's me.
Oh, I'm glad it wasn't me.
I guess we're going in reverse order, maybe. I don't know. So, encouraging words about the Constitution. So, the Constitution, I would say, is, we've talked about it tonight. It's the contract with the people. It's the contract that says the government is in place to protect your rights. It doesn't grant your rights. It has no authority to give you your rights. Those are already given to you by God. The Constitution is merely there as a protection so that man cannot try and take your rights away. And you know, the other encouraging part of the Constitution, I'll say, is you really look at it in three sections, and the most important section, and the one with the most words and the most the Constitution has the most to say, is about the legislature, which is the people's representation. So it says that the people are the most important part. The people's voice is the most important part of our government. And so it's not the president. It's not the court. The court is the least important as far as our founding fathers were concerned. It has the least written about it in the Constitution, the very least amount of words. So it's not like the courts are a super legislature or anything like that. We elect representatives to do that. And we get a chance in the House. We get to vote every 2 years. If we don't like our representation, we get to vote them out every 2 years. So we have the power. It's a powerful document, but we need to understand it, and we need to make sure we assert that we understand, and make sure we assert our rights under the Constitution.
Excellent.
All right.
Oh gosh, it's my turn. Okay. I was looking for
surprise.
I wanted to say. Wow. Okay. So let me think. Okay. So I love the Constitution. I love the founding fathers who formed it. I feel like they were godly men who had just the ability to see the long term and see what America could be, what its potential is, the people who are in it. They loved this country, but it wasn't just the country, it was the people. And so they wrote this Constitution, they wrote the Declaration of Independence, they wrote all of these things in order to inspire future generations to grab a hold of freedom, to grab a hold of life, everything in us to not take it for granted. That they were handing this down and they were saying, this is yours. This is your constitutional republic if you can keep it, right?
Mm.
So they gave us that responsibility. And it would be the greatest honor in the world to pass on that mantle, to take up that quest. And so the best place to start is to read the Constitution, because it is the how this country will run best, with the people who know it and love it best. And I think one of my favorite presidents, George Washington, really said it. I mean, I could read his whole farewell address, but there are a few words that I would like to read. It says, citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. With slight shades of difference, you have the same religion, manners, habits, and political principles. You have in a common cause fought and triumphed together. The independence and liberty you possess are the work of joint councils and joint efforts, of common dangers, sufferings, and success. He continues on, but he loved this country. He gave his life in service to it. And how do we give our lives in service to something so great? It's not perfect. America is not perfect. No nation in the world will ever be perfect. But it is the most free. It is the one that has been established to give us the all of the beautiful and wonderful things that God promised to us, his abundance. And I want to preserve that. So yeah.
Those are some excellent speeches to follow, folks, for winging it. I love it. What I think of when I think of the Constitution, and for someone who's never read the document, I think about our founding fathers. And if you look back at the time in which they wrote the Constitution, think about the Declaration of Independence. Go back a little bit further. These men that signed these documents were risking their lives to sign these documents. It's not simply a piece of paper. It's not simply a living document like you hear so many times. You have to look at this document as the founding of our country, because without it, you don't have the structure, you don't have the formation, you don't have the intricacies that we have been able to enjoy in our country without this document. And so, looking at the men and women that were living during the time that we were writing the Constitution, they were looking into the future. And to be able to look into the future and have the wisdom and the clarity of thought and mind and foresight to be able to take these God-given rights that were given to each individual who formed a society, who formed a contract through the Constitution in order to create the government. And that's so critical that we understand that these rights were given to us by God. Yeah. And the Constitution substantiated those rights to each citizen, and that citizenry as a group made a contract with government to protect those rights. Yeah. And I think it's so important that those rights were extended not just to me, because I believe the Constitution is our founding document as it was written clearly, but that it was extended to anyone and everyone that would follow the document. We talk about success in our country today, the American dream. The American dream can be achieved by any person in the United States of America that follows the Constitution. I don't care about your race, neither your ethnicity, your background, your family structure, your religion. If you look at the document that our founding fathers wrote and you follow it to the letter, you will be successful in the United States of America. And we've proven that time and time again. But I fear that we've taken our eyes off of the prize. And that to me gives us such a greater need to focus on the Constitution and read it and take it to heart so that we can apply it to our lives and be successful in the country that is the greatest experiment the world has ever seen, the greatest bastion of hope that the world has ever seen. And that draws me to read the Constitution and follow it and strive to implement it into each and every day of our lives.
Amen.
Well, you guys are amazing on this. So I'm just going to do it a little like this. We said it over and over again about educating, being educated, understanding education.
Yep.
I believe that just like the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
But it goes on to say, because you have rejected knowledge, I have rejected you. And the thing about it is, when we don't want to go back and look at history, for example, the Civil Rights Act was in 1866, right? Then it got vetoed in 1866, and then in 1870 it became law, right? And then the Democrats took it out of law. In 1964, the Democrats it was so ironic, they was forced to sign it back into law, what they took out of law. And so, and it made them look like they was really doing something. But if you look at the history and you understand that the war on poverty was the attack on the black families and the poor white families, right? So we have to go back to history to see why is it that they don't want us to exercise our freedom and our rights. I mean, if you take a man like Frederick Douglass, who was born as property, as a slave, and when he died, if he was in our time, a millionaire, right? And he owned businesses, newspaper, he controlled media.
Amazing.
So and how did he do that? He took the Constitution, he studied the Constitution, and he applied it to his life. So here you have a person who was born into slavery, die a millionaire, only because he exercised the Constitution. And so that is why so many people are risking their lives to get over here, because of the fact that they understand we are the greatest country and the most freest country in the world because of our Constitution, which have never been changed like everybody else's.
Yep. Yeah. I mentioned that on Saturday, 234. Are we at 234 years now of the same Constitution? And on average, a nation's Constitution lasts only 17 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if we really look at it and start to apply it, you know, and I like the part about pursuit of happiness, because I tell people all the time, this is America. You can be whatever you want. If you want to be a drunk, fine, drink top shelf. Be the best, because you have that right? You have that right to choose what do you want for your life. You know, nobody can make that decision for you. You get to make that decision. But I also fear that if we don't educate enough people, that 33% of people, then we're going to lose them freedoms. And then we're going to sit around and we're going to be talking to our grandchildren and say, I remember when we was free.
You got it.
I remember when we could just walk into the neighborhood and speak our mind, but now we can't speak our mind. I remember, and we don't want that to happen. This is why I say this race is the most important race, not because we want a Republican in office, because we want people in office who understand the Constitution, and that's going to fight for our freedom. This is why it is one of the most important races. I thank you guys for being with me again.
Thank you.
We never do a half hour or hour show, so I'm not going to even give a time no more. When we get done, we done. But it never happens. But I really want to thank you guys, and And I know Sarah will be with me next weekend. If you guys want to come on next weekend, you are more than welcome to come on next weekend. And we're going to do a show, a couple of shows in March with candidates that's running in the spring election.
Cool.
Excellent.
I'm trying to see who. Somebody just put something in. I'm trying to see. Oh, Brock. Okay. I want to put up names before I put it up.
That's Brock again. Yeah. Brock, I'll reach out to you.
I will.
I got some things I work on too, so I'll reach out to you. I kind of put them to the side to run for office, but I'll get in contact.
Wow, is that selflessness? You know, and I just gotta keep binging that, because people need to understand, anybody that ever ran for office, it's a selfless act. You know, and because it's sacrificing. You're away from your family. You're away from your church sometimes. You're away from, you know, I am the Great Lakes Region Director for the Full Gospel Businessman. So even though I'm talking to people about the full gospel, but I can't build right now. So I'm taking a sacrifice to build. But at the end of this, I guarantee you, we're going to have one of the strongest districts in the full gospel that ever was. But it's a sacrifice. You know, you leave your family, you leave your kids, you leave, and you know, and then sometimes you got to be selfish and say, I'm not doing anything. I'm spending time with my family.
Yep.
But you're teaching your kids priorities.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
In that sacrifice, just like we did Bible studies for goodness years in the evenings, once or twice a month, and that you brought your kids with you to show them the priority that this holds. So you're right, it is a sacrifice, but they see the emphasis and the importance that actually holds by the time that you spend.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because I took my son, I went over to Greendale. They had a school board thing, and I took my son, my daughter, and my granddaughter, and they was talking, and then I got a chance to say some things, and my son looked at me like, wow, you know, and you got to speak your mind, and you got to tell the truth no matter what setting you in. You don't change. You got to stay the same. We have to stay the same in order to reserve the freedom that we love. We got to be willing. It's a sacrifice, and we got to be willing to tell it. Is everybody gonna like us? No, but you know what? Everybody gonna love us once we in office, and they get to keep their freedom.
Yeah. And I think John Adams or James Madison said, my generation is learning to be statesmen and soldiers so that my sons can be scientists and doctors and lawyers, and my grandchildren can be artists and poets and writers.
Excellent word.
Yes. So I think this is to you, Ryan.
Yep.
Because
I'll get together with Brock. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So again, everybody, I want to thank y'all.
Yep.
We done hit the 2-hour mark. So I want to thank y'all, and it is this. Even the show is a sacrifice because I got to be up at 5 a.m.
Same here.
I'll be up at 6 tomorrow.
I know, right?
Here.
I was gonna say it's what, third or fourth time on the show. I think the shortest one we've done is an hour and a half. So
I know, right? We try to get off, but when it get good, you know, you just be like, okay.
It's good discussion. I mean, it's important. People, you know, you never know who's going to run across this out in the social media landscape, right? So it's good. It's good discussion, and we'll get it out there.
It's right now we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitter, and we're live on LinkedIn.
Wow.
So yeah. Stacy want to say good night to us. She say thank you all.
Thank you, Stacy. Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we want to thank everybody. This weekend I am in, what is it, Westby?
Westby.
I'll be in Westby, Wisconsin at 1 o'clock. Let me try to find the address. Brock said he will share it as well. I'm just going to find the address where we're going to be in Westby, because we also, if you are in the area and you never heard or seen
Dr.
the
Duke Pesta.
presentation, if you
Said Duke Pesta's going to be out there.
yes,
Well, that's going to be really good.
Yes.
I've seen him
Make
a
sure
couple
you
times.
come.
Yeah, go.
Yes, I have him coming. The address is S1539. What is that? Stensling Lane.
Line.
I'm gonna type it in here.
That's awesome.
Wait a minute. What is Stacy
Stacy
saying?
said something else.
What did he say?
I'm even more in love with the Constitution.
Excellent.
Awesome.
So I'm putting this up on the thing so people can yeah. Okay, there it is. Oh, wait a minute. It didn't go.
Nope.
Okay,
There you go.
There it is.
Dr. Duke Pesta will be there also. And it is hosted by We the People. I believe this is the name of the group, We the People.
Good.
1 p.m., correct?
Yes. 1 p.m.
Awesome.
on Sunday. Sunday the 27th. We'll be over in Westby. So if you're close to that and you've never seen the presentation of CRT, it'll be very educational.
Mm-hmm.
If you got children, you might want to find someone or put some earphones on because he's gonna share some stuff that is going on in the schools that I don't think you might want kids to hear.
No.
Yeah.
So, but he will be there. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. But that's where we're going to be. So again, we thank everybody for watching. And we will again. I'm trying to think of somewhere else I'm gonna be. On the 3rd, on the 2nd.
Hot government.
On the 2nd, I will be at Hot Government in Racine.
Okay.
Where is it at, Adam?
DeMarc's, 1600 Albert Street.
Okay.
Okay, 1600
side.
Albert Street in Racine.
Yep.
For Hot Government, and that's on the 2nd.
Yep.
On the 3rd, I'm at the Holiday Inn in Manitowoc with the Manitowoc Tea Party group. I'll be speaking there on the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember where I'm going to be. And tonight, I'm going to be in the room hugging this lovely lady while I go to sleep.
Excellent.
I'm going to be tonight. So. But you guys, I thank everybody for being on. I love that we can enjoy, have good conversation, and have fun at the same time. You know, somebody else said something before her. Oh, somebody said I share it everywhere, and I think that is
was Brock.
Oh, that's Brock. Okay, so again, everybody, we thank you guys for being with us. We thank you, YouTube. We thank you, Facebook. We thank you, Twitter, and we thank you, LinkedIn. In a minute, I'll be able to have everything set up. We're also going to go to Rumble. We're going to go to Getter, and we're going to Instagram. I'm just trying to learn how to hook it all up, but that's where we're going to be. And it's time to bring real people who love the Constitution.
Mhm.
It's time to bring real people of integrity that's walking in integrity and put them in office. And then you don't have to worry about the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
That's right.
Correct.
So I'm so sick of us saying that too.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna start because we'll have another hour.
We'll have another 2 hours.
But
Next conversation.
the next conversation. So anybody that's watching, any candidate that's watching, and you would like to be a part of our show to talk about our freedom and Constitution and all your race, we want you to know you're welcome to join us. I know that Aaron is out of town right now, enjoying his lovely family. That's why he's not with us. Aaron would have loved to get into this, and Tony, who's running for a school board in Burlington. He has something to do. So I'm trying to get all the candidates on, and we just gonna have. I can have up to 10 guests, so we can put a bunch of folks up on. and if it get bigger, I can switch it off and go to Zoom and go live from Zoom on Facebook, and I can have 100 on that one. So we can mess up some people's minds, you know.
We better have more time.
That's how we get change, by messing up people's minds. Their way of thinking. So again, we thank everybody for watching and being with us. If you are in the Westby area, and I believe that's Vernon County, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just north of Viroqua.
Yep.
Okay. So so we want you guys to come on out and be with us. You're going to enjoy Dr. Duke Pesto. He is amazing teacher. And should I use the word expert on CRT?
Yeah.
Is he teachable?
I'd say he qualifies for sure.
I think he qualifies.
Yeah, he
Most
definitely qualifies. So everybody, good night. We love y'all, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all hold tight.
Thanks, guys.
Night.